Hey everyone, FusedVR coming at ya. And today, super excited to have Alex Sink on, and we're going to be doing multiplayer. I know this is a topic that a lot of you guys have asked. I was going through some comments this morning, and I was like, yeah, we should cover a few of those things. And in the past, we've done Photon, and I was actually talking to the CEO this week. It was really cool to meet him. And so if you have questions about that, me and Hassan here are going to be in the chat. We'll talk a lot. The best part about this is that the chat is super awesome, and we'll pull that in for a majority of it. But the way the stream is going to work is Alex here is going to take the front, kind of set up a really basic UNET scene where we basically just get avatars syncing together. And then he actually has a project here. There are a few kinks. It's actually up on GitHub, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I'll share the link later. We might have to fix a few things. That's one of the reasons why we actually started a little late. We're just narrowing down some of the bugs, but hopefully we can get this working during the stream. Or if you guys have other questions about anything, really, we can dive into that. And yeah. Want to dive into it? We can do that right now.
And the final project is like a interpretation of a multiplayer. What's the correct way to say this? There's Star Trek Bridge Crew coming out, and there was another game called Space Team, where you have to solve as a team. You have to make decisions about, hey, I have a problem on my console, but I need you to solve it. So I have to use words, and we have to discover a social protocol for when to say something and not stomp one another and still get the most amount of stuff done.
Yeah, pretty cool game.
Yeah,
so
I love it. There's so many cool stuff you can do with this. So yeah, we'll be doing a lot of fun stuff. Again, if you have questions, hit us up, and we want to make this as interactive as possible. And with that, you want to introduce yourself, like what's your background, and then we can take it away.
Well, my background's a green screen, and
hey,
you got great jokes.
Oh yes,
puns galore.
Let me assure you, I am the best comedian ever. The house is filled with nobody. No. So I'm a VR developer. I've been in games for about 10 years. I transitioned over to VR a couple years ago. And sort of helped set up a studio inside of a VR investment firm and helped run their accelerator program. So I got to work with over 30 VR companies, deal with a lot of different problems. But I mean, you say problems, but these are all opportunities for improvement. And it's really like, hey, look, we kind of are figuring out what we're doing. And we take what we know and we try to apply it to the new medium, and we take the things that work and we leave the ones that don't. And so that process is really cool. You have to stay humble. You have to keep looking at things with beginner's eyes. So I suspect one of you out in the crowd is going to be the next breakout kid, because these preconceptions work against us. So you have a lot of opportunity right now to make a huge difference. And so I'm really excited to be talking in front of you today. Oh yeah, I'm a VR developer still, of course. And so I'm developing at a sort of stealth company called Angle Technologies. I'm handling their networking stack over there and hiring, etc. But website angle-tech.com, and
throw it in the stream chat and description.
Really cool website.
That's when you know.
That's the most we've been able to say for a long time. I'm as an individual, I love talking about what I'm doing, and so I'm glad to be talking about this in front of you today. And so there's a lot of different things in networking that come up. Just like VR physics is a little bit funny, VR networking ends up having a lot of intricacies, but it's also easy to get into. So get into it, try it out, see what works for you, and discover something new.
And have fun.
Yeah, exactly. Really, it's if you're not having fun, then do something else.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And VR is one of the funnest things that I've done in quite a long time. So really excited to have you on today. And with that, let's just open up a new project and get started, right?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Woo! I am still a grumpy network engineer. I do have my coffee. We're not all grumpy, but it does help. So we're going to start with Unity 4.5.6. They revamped their UNET stack recently. Well, let me step back, actually, before I talk about even UNET at all. Why UNET and what's Photon versus UNET? I think they're both amazing. Some of Photon's recent peer-to-peer stuff is actually built on UNET. So some of Photon's stuff is actually, their peer-to-peer stack is actually built on top of UNET. And it's Unity's own interpretation of how to do networking. And I think that they're going to make a massive progress. What they've done so far is they've built tools for developers that automatically interpret your code and automatically network a lot of it. Now, if you're doing something really deep, this can get tricky. But for very simple applications, for the vast majority of use cases, honestly, it provides a lot out of the box. And it hides the fact that a lot of this stuff is happening over the network and a lot of the quirks that can happen there, including serialization. The Weaver stuff's pretty cool, and I think that's the model that a lot of code will take. So anyway, let's get started. I'll get more into that later. I don't think we'll have time to cover messages. We'll cover the high-level API primarily. And that actually does a lot of really amazing stuff. So if I want to show the screen, oh, that's interesting, cool. So you can see like they have great docs about networking overview. Using the high-level API, this is what we're going to be using primarily. The low-level API is pretty awesome. It does automatic serialization as well in a slightly different way. But here we are with a new project, and let's go ahead import Steam because VR and 6DoF, duh. Let's go ahead and start with, where are their prefabs for the interaction system again?
They're in Steam VR interaction system.
Yeah, but the core or, oh yeah.
Oh, core, yeah.
Cool. So let's get rid of our main camera. Steam VR, last I checked, automatically set our player preferences, but I'm paranoid. Yep, so it automatically selects this. You don't always want that, you actually have to do something else now. So UNET's built in to Unity. So all you have to do is go to the window and then go to services, where they've added so many Control-0 extra windows now that it's kind of got a little window clutter, but that's pretty cool. So which team? Let's go with this team. So you create a new project in the editor itself, and then you say multiplayer. You go to the dashboard. It'll open up a browser. Oh. Can you type your login here?
Visible password is available to everyone on the internet.
Dun dun dun! So now they can build Unity projects for free.
Oh no!
Certainly. Wait, you can do that already.
Wait a second.
Yeah. Let's say 8 players max in room. We're not going to get that many players. We're going to get 2 at most, but just say 8. Because I'm greedy, we have global 20 CCU for free. And cool. Let's save. Let's go back to Unity. Refresh configuration, just make sure it works. Yep. So we have our 20 CCU. And so UNET is now configured. And if he's laughing, I think something's going on.
Oh yeah, well everyone's talking about my password.
Well, I mean, come on.
It's the best ... password ever.
I'm just saying that much profanity is. I never thought that you had that in you. I just.
I know, right?
So anyway, so what are the primitives of UNET? They've taken a lot of how they develop the high-level API off of the way they've developed. It looks a lot like making a regular game object mono behavior. So you say a network behavior or network. Oh, well, you have to make your own. So let's go ahead and create a network behavior. So network behavior test 1. Sure, go ahead. You also set up a network manager, network manager. This houses all your settings on how you want the network manager to house itself, whether it runs in the background, destroy, unload. Its logging level. Its logging level is completely independent of, not completely, but largely independent of the Unity logging itself. So developer will give you like byte streams, really low level, and it'll happen without stack traces because it's in another DLL. So you need to set the spawn info. So for now, let's set a spawn info of a, what is a spawn info? Oh,
Stone Fox wants you to do a barrel roll.
oh my god, dude. I love you, guy. Like I was talking good about you the other day. You know, you're a badass, and
Stone Fox is awesome.
I have to say that I also was watching videos of Cookie Monster on the same day as you. So you know, let's see how that goes. I don't know, I'm a big fan, and I think there's more need for people like you who are advancing a cause and identifying problems. So congratulations, you've identified a very pointed problem, and you're doing a great job. Anyway, so here we are. We are creating, we set up the network label layer stuff. So we have a network manager. This is like the basic stuff that you need. And here we're setting up a cube. It's easy to get derailed when you're me. So here we are. We need to add a network identity or network view, whatever. A network identity gets added at runtime, which when you're looking at things, that's what you'll worry about. But when you're at, oh wait, no, it's called something else now. Yeah, network identity. Trust my intuition. I've used older versions as well, so. So here we are. Let's say we have local player authority. So that means that the person who, when we say network server.spawn, that means the person who is running it determines where it's at a given point in time. So here we are with a player cube. And let's say this guy is our prefab. And this is going to be a messy project, but it's going to be a small project. Cool. And it has all sorts of neat things where you can set your types of channels. If you need to have multiple channels with different priority or different configuration options like all costs, whether you can lose messages. A lot of transform things have that property. A high-level API takes care of that for you, but if you want to get down in the nitty-gritty. And also you can simulate bad networks locally with this network simulator. You can say, you know, my average latency is very high or low, and simulate your packet loss, which is important for testing. Because when everything goes right in networking, it's easy, but things don't work that way. Okay, so we've made our player cube with a network identity. We've connected it to the network manager in this player prefab. And UNET automatically handles the spawning of that cube. So let's go ahead and now we set up a script to connect. Oh, right. Things I never use in normal.
Yeah.
But that's brilliant. Thank you so much. Basically, I was re-implementing that, and I'm like, this seems wrong.
It was surprise.
I'm never wrong.
Except when they flag.
Yes, yes. If only those network guys would figure this stuff out, you know? No, a lot of...
You mean yourself? Gotcha.
You know, the funny thing is my, in bug tracking software for a while, I was under a different name, so I could always blame somebody else. That guy...
Not anymore.
So, okay. Anyway, so we have a network manager HUD, and this will show like a very simple GUI. Say, hey, I'm going to leave you a LAN host. I want to do a matchmaker. Matchmaker is pretty cool. Although this refresh without on the camera is not awesome. Oh, because there is no camera, so I disabled it. Set up a default camera. So it draws over itself when there's no skybox in the background. That's why I did that. So here you can do LAN server only. You can do LAN client. And this is a very simple way to just get started, get moving. So let's do this. My favorite way of doing a very simple test is to, where is this project at? Setting up symlinks is sometimes a little tricky, but most of the time during network development, I have either a symlinked copy, so I have the exact same source code in 2 different places, or I'll just copy the project and then just git pull constantly from both, or set up services to do that. Because you need the same version of the code to be able to connect to yourself in UNET. Because what it'll do is it'll say everything that's network enabled, make sure it looks exactly like this. And if it doesn't look exactly like that, then it doesn't work.
And shout out to Chase Adam, who was the one that mentioned the HUD manager.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, it's great to have a community like you guys, and I appreciate it. It's definitely an honor, and there's always more to know. Unity's a big engine. Been using it for a long time now, and still, it's got a lot going on. Cool. So here we are. We'll make this one the server, just to see, and then we'll start this copy, and we'll make it the client. Just see if it connects when it starts. Cool. So we can see that we have 1 player cube. It doesn't look right. We only have 1 player cube. No, wait, no. Okay, cool. So you saw on the left, well, let's look at both hierarchies. So you can see over here, there's no player cube. Yeah, because I started as a server, not as a host. I forget in this HUD thing, it's there's a difference. Normally, you want to start both as a host. That'll start both a client and a server at the same machine. So here we have 1 player cube, and here we're going to connect as a LAN client, and now we can see that there are 2 player cubes. Magic. We just connected using network discovery. I'm connecting to you.
Wait, but I don't know the code yet.
Oh, well.
So you're connecting to the ether. That's the way I look at it.
Well, if there was some sort of network for the ether, then this never gets old. So cool. Let's figure out how to do something VR related. Let's get a so we have a cube running around. Let's re-enable Steam just so we can see what it looks like to see. Let's enable VR on one of these guys, just so that we can see that my cube is, well, it's actually not moved around by me right now. So we should fix that. How do we fix that? We look at the player cube. And since it has a network identity, what it can do is it can accept certain types of script called certain types of script, unlike a mono behavior. It's not network view, it's network behavior, right? So these network behaviors are very similar to mono behaviors. They throw special types of if you implement functions, it will give you callbacks. So you can say You know, am I the server? Am I the client? Am I the local player? And other sort of important sort of queries that you want to have. And that way, if you want more distributed logic, this is very useful. Which, you know, for a lot of things this will work. For this will be great. So we have a network behavior.
We have a really solid question that I figured I might pop up on stream for. But so forget the name, I think Luke asked what are like best practices for implementing something for single player and multiplayer. I knew you'd like the question. The core components are that you want to sync across the network, get those down first. And I think the good way of thinking about it also is like if you've built for multiplayer, that will inherently work if you have one person connected to a server or 15 people connected to a server. So in that sense, it doesn't really matter too much. So
yeah, I mean, but the other way is much harder.
yeah, exactly. If I've only done it to work for one person, then getting it to work beyond that is tricky.
Yeah, well, and to say nothing of scale, like there's a lot of things. A very normal problem you have is I think we were talking about this the other day, where you know, syncing network transforms.
Yeah.
Is a very common thing where you want it to look smooth, and the trivial way of doing that is just sending more packets.
Yeah.
But at some point, you actually have to do interpolation and
prediction.
Yes.
And all of that fun stuff.
That very quickly gets to something more specialized topics that people cover very well, and you know, you have some support for that in terms of rigid body syncing.
Yeah.
And that's probably the best interpolation and prediction that it does in the box, but. And they have an interpolation slider. But still, you don't want to spam packets for everything.
Yeah. All right. So I don't want to derail this too much, but we'll talk a bit more about this later because I think it's a really interesting topic. I mean, I'm kind of in the project I'm working on right now. That's something that I'm thinking about also. So it's a really important question to keep in mind that I figured I might as well bring it up right now as soon as it came up.
Oh, it's absolutely critical to think about what data are you transferring across the network, because the answer is not everything's going to be synchronized. By definition, there's speed of light. It's the law, you know.
Yep.
So you have there's some latency even if we're on the same network.
Yep.
So you're going to have two different games running, and you need to figure out what failures are acceptable and which are not. And sometimes you think about like syncing outcomes, like, hey, did I score the basket?
Yep.
Or something more analog where it's like the position of something.
Yep.
It's like can be a little bit more fluid.
Cool. All right. I'll let you get back to it.
Sweet. So we have, you know, all the standard model behavior messages, but we also have new messages. Those are the inherited ones. So like on start client, on start local player, on start server. So the ones we're going to be focused on are on start client, on start server. Hopefully they fixed this bug. This dogged the heck out of me. On start authority should be when, according to documentation, it's when the networking, you have some idea of who owns this specific object. So you notice that when we did the example, there were two player cubes. We're going to start this one as the host this time, start this one as the client. The cubes have different fields set, and what you do in code is look at these fields. Oh, let's ignore that. That's not compiled. Yeah, so we can query whether it has authority. So if we have authority, we want to start syncing the position of this with your head, because we don't want to parent this to your Steam VR camera. So let's do a let's create a track head coroutine. Now, where's your head at? Where's your head at?
My head.
Where's your head at?
It's also in the ether.
Huh? Where's your head? No. We promised John that we'd be singing, so I.
Did? That was a mistake.
I've made many mistakes in my life, and
No exception.
yeah, it's seems to be one of those things that we all do is make mistakes. And we're singing perfectly in key as long as the key changes. You know, people say I'm getting in shape. You know, like pear is a shape. You know,
This is true.
it's fine.
This is very true.
So what are we doing? We're grabbing the. I don't know if you're familiar with the IVR VR node stuff in Unity, but they've exposed a sort of more generic way of getting the head. And so there are other functions that they expose that say like IVR, these are all enums. Who uses? Oh my god! I thought I set up ReSharper, but apparently Control-T doesn't work. I know. Normally I just like decompile and look. By the way, ReSharper, other than coffee and healthy body and mind, is number 4 development tool. So because you basically just synchronize the position. You create a proxy for where the position of it is. Yeah. So here it's an example of rotation, but we're going to use the position. Well, we did do both actually, I guess. So this game object, the player cube, let's use transform dot. I don't know. I'm not parenting this to anything. So the rotation and then the position. Yeah, local rotation and local position. So every frame, what we're doing here is setting the position and transform and rotation of the player cube. Now, as we were talking about earlier, the question now becomes, how often do we want to synchronize this? And even though we're synchronizing locally what the transform position is, we have yet to let the UNET high-level API know that we want to synchronize the network. But we add a network transform component, and we say sync the transform. We can sync the transform like a rigid body 3D, or character controllers are okay for game jams. Well, I mean, it's good to know what things are good for. I mean, I use them during game jams. But everything else, it's like you want to have a little bit more control. Syncing transform is what we're going to select here. If you want a little bit more prediction, rigid bodies are great for pretty much everything because they bake in a little bit of, because there's mass and it uses actual physics, it does a little bit of filling in the gaps. We can choose whether to sync angular velocity, whether we're going to compress other things. So anyway, there's a bunch of options. We're going to crank up the network send rate to 9. I know what? Actually, let's do it to 11. Ah, we got capped at 10. Dude, this is not okay.
It might be because there's a live stream going on and a bunch of people watching videos right now, so...
No. So we're gonna so we're gonna synchronize this at every 10. Simulating would have been very helpful. So we're going to do this, and what that's just going to do is it's going to tell UNET to take my player position, and then let's actually use the VR camera, and the position of the player cube is going to match the position of the headset, in theory. As long as I put a yield return null, yeah. Earlier I was crashing Unity because I didn't do that. Okay, cool. So it is not currently, oh, on start authority is not getting called. Well, that's good to know. Well, let's do it unconditionally anyway.
All right.
Track your head coroutine, and because there happens to be a network transform on this, it'll track that as well. It'll sync that out to all the other clients. And if you didn't set local player authority, what would happen is that it would realize that you don't have authority. Is SteamVR just not booting up? SteamVR is not booting up.
Oh, it should be on the monitor.
Oh, thank you. Base station's not syncing.
Oh, thank you. Oh, that's
Syncing! Syncing!
error.
Not in my name. Oh wait, my name is Sync.
Hey.
Never gets old. I assure you, networking jokes related to asynchronous stuff for me, as somebody called Alex Sync.
Yeah, this is working.
Sweet. So jump around a bit. See, you doing stuff?
I need my controllers to sync up. Controllers, turn on. Now. Maybe I gotta stand. I'm surprised it saw the other lighthouse stuff. It sees my head, but I need to be able to turn off the Steam VR overlay.
The reason why I had this in start authority is because you don't know if it's yours or not. So the correct way is going to be this, but let's just make sure that it tracks.
Do you want to give SteamVR just a reboot? I think that'll help. Because as soon as it sees one other base station, it freaks out.
Yep.
What? Alright, turn it on.
Cool.
Let's see. I see my head. I think that's supposed to be my head. Controllers, turn on. Pretty please. A cherry on top. Yeah, just for reference, like we have one. We intended to like get 2 multiplayer setups happening, and so we have one Vive setup over there, but now we're kind of realizing the lighthouses might be conflicting, which with unfortunately with the Vive, it's kind of a big problem. All right, yeah. So I mean, at least the headset's working. I don't know why the controllers aren't syncing. Probably for the same reasons that the lighthouses are like, I don't want you. But do you need the controllers?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Not right now.
Yeah, I'll figure out what is happening.
Just see what happens if I attach this script to regular mono behavior. I'm assuming that this has nothing to do with networking. Speaking of whether it's single or, oh my god, not JavaScript. Um, so let's make sure that I do a lot of testing just to make sure that stuff works in and out of VR and in and out of networking.
Testing's a great thing.
I have gotten hooked on unit testing.
With Unity?
Yep, and integration testing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I mean, Jenkins support's pretty awesome. So. Okay. I mean, two Vives can share the same trackers, but that might be difficult physically.
Yeah. Figure it out. I think it was just this thing.
Okay, so our game object with this test IVR script with the same code is working, but this one isn't. Assume because local player authority.
I might break everything right now.
It's okay. That's interesting. So this one is still working. This is tracking. You can see it moves a little bit, but the player cube is not moving at all. Forget if it's local player authority or not. I just tried both options. Didn't seem to make a change. Let's try not doing this for now. See if it has something to do with the way we set up network transform. Nope, it's because we forgot to attach this to player cube. That got blown away. This network behavior test thing.
Alright. I've not been paying attention to what's happening on the stream, so how far are we going along?
Going along. So yeah, we've just identified that on the prefab we missed a script. That's fine.
Best error ever.
Yep. I normally never do things through through prefabs because they're great for shorter projects. But
You usually use resources?
no, I just like construct them myself.
Oh, interesting.
And you can do a lot of things related to editor scripting, which I'll show a little bit later.
Nice.
To sort of start to move in that direction where this whole idea of like turning this camera off and this one on is you can automate that. There's some really fancy tags that Unity uses internally that they use for their.
So the cube that you said was like following me?
Give it a second. I don't know why it froze. But here we are. You can see that based on where your headset's moving.
Can we pull up the game view so we can see the scene view? There we go.
Yeah. So not only is the cube moving, but it's being synchronized across the network.
All right.
All right. It dices, it slices, slap chop. You know, boring life, boring job. I don't know.
All right. Awesome. So with that, how about I move that code over to the other machine? Let's try to get both of them working.
Oh well. Let's do it on the same machine first.
Oh, you can do that, right?
Yeah, normally symlinks are a little bit better. That way you don't have to, oh, right, because you have to close Unity and do all this, like. Anybody in our stream know how to do the hard link command? And that's the symlink version that Unity accepts for Unity. There's Windows hard links. This is normally the way I set up projects. I mean, when you're doing cross-platform, you have to change between symlinks and.
I've never heard of this, so I'm learning something new.
It's basically you want to point two things at different things. That's exactly what I meant, right? Yes, that.
Point two things at different things
And stuff.
and stuff. Important.
And junk.
And junctions.
Oh, and junctions, yes, actually.
Junctions.
So let's go ahead and figure this out because we're going to keep on doing this. We want to not have to create and delete this every single time. So let's create this too. So for now, we're not going to synchronize the player project settings because we copied those over, and we're probably not going to change those for a little while.
Also, just heads up, because you guys can't see this on the stream.
sorry.
We're doing this
All right.
outside, but well,
Yeah.
you get to see
So
my giant
I just
messy
copied this.
desktop, but
Oh.
yeah, that's fine. No, I'm fine with that. But yeah, all we did was just copy the project. I just have 2 copies of it. Command prompt. I avoid that with the.
Well, as a Unix guy, it's
yeah, that's exactly the reason why.
So the transition to crufty old network engineer was very natural because I started off as a crufty old Linux device driver engineer, and I was like, oh no, I want to go to the front end, and so I kept on doing that, and yeah. I don't know. No, there's a lot of cool stuff, and that's where the biggest bang for the buck is going to be. So, how do we? Doesn't have an example here. Create hard link. This is a function call. Make link.
Yep.
H. And we're going to link the assets folder inside of that because right now that's all.
Oh, this is actually so pro. I finally understand what you're doing, and I'm like, what? I didn't even know you could do this.
It's
This is why we have you on the stream, because I would never do this.
This is one of the more. I mean, oftentimes when you get to bigger projects, this is a very not normal, but it becomes can be the most pragmatic way to solve certain problems. All right, I'm still used to Linux path. So a lot of times it's about finding the simplest solution to do something, and this can be the simplest solution to do a lot of things that are.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, what you're doing is, so you've created 2 copies of the Unity project. You're linking the assets folders together, so if you make any change in one, it happens in the other.
Correct.
There we go. But I think that's a better explanation than we're pointing 2 things at different things.
I'm not talking to you anymore.
Well, maybe that's a good explanation. We'll let the chat decide which is a better explanation for this.
Well, let's start with a high-level folder because I suspect that whatever problem I'm having has something to do with going nested.
System can't flag the file specified. Do you have to do it recursively? Is that like a thing?
Well, no, we're at desktop. We can dir UNET simple. We can do that. So let's just make sure my spelling doesn't suck. Because I always spell things correctly.
Just like me. What is test?
I'm just trying to. Oh, weird.
Oh, what? You don't have sufficient purposes. That's nonsense.
I completely agree. Oh.
Gotcha. The other awesome password that everyone will now know.
No! Government's coming after you now.
They might already be after me.
This is a very common problem in networking programming, so you just don't want to have to run back and forth for every iteration or, git pull.
No, this is smart. I really dig it. It just takes some setting up, but like it's totally like this is like for bigger projects. This is totally worth it. It just saves you such a major headache.
Yeah, you only have, and if you get it wrong, you can lose so much time.
So yeah, well, I've already learned a bunch of new things, but today. But this is another thing I learned today. It's like you definitely have enough privileges. I'm for sure about that. What the? Oh, this is a different desktop, I think. All right, unless what? No. There's no way you don't have access.
I knew it was a certain subtype of these.
All right. I would say people know. I'll throw that link. What was it called? Hard
link.
Hard link. Yeah. Okay. I'll throw that link in the description. Or yeah, I'll throw that link in the description. But we can probably move on for now because I'm just like there.
Yeah, this
there's
is taking
something
too long.
really weird that's going on. We don't need it, but I think it's still a super useful tip for people to know.
Yeah, this is in my notes somewhere at home. Sorry, guys, but this is totally like in terms of networking workflow, something you should seriously consider.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. So
let's get back
we're about
to
like an hour in. So I'm thinking, how about I try copying this over here, and in the meantime, let's get you into the wave. You can try that out. Move that over, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, the projects just magically work, and we can see each other's head as a cube moving around.
just so we don't get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, testing is always important. That's the thing, and taking the time to do it is really, really, really important. If that wasn't apparent, like now it should be. Eject. All right, cool. And with that, you'll just have to open up Unity, and then hopefully things work.
Ha ha ha. No, it won't work.
For Unity 5.6, I'm never sure if things will work or not.
They're getting better. It's just it takes time.
Yeah. Alright, so it's extracting, and then I'll open it up to 5.6. Hopefully everything will work, and we're good to go and test this puppy out. Except this one sees two lighthouses. Lovely.
It's a program, not a puppy.
Are you sure? I think programs can be puppies. Maybe.
I've played the lab before.
Yeah. So, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. So while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and stub out some other objects.
Alright, you want to hit play?
Oh.
I think I got it working. See, I had
it.
Should I hit host or client?
Hit host.
Host?
I'll be the client.
Alright, I'm hosting.
Alright, cool. I will be client. Oh wait, no, sorry.
My head is moving. I think they're connected to the same router, so it should be good.
Otherwise, we'd have to use matchmaking.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So it's attempting to connect right now.
I wonder if you're like right on top of me. That wouldn't be surprising. You can also pull the headphones out.
No, it's not connecting right now. I think. No. LAN client. I'd have to connect to you by IP address. So, unplay, and then let's use matchmaking.
Okay. Enable matchmaker.
So I'm gonna create the internet match.
Okay, so then I just have to find it.
Yep.
Join match default. Hey, it works.
Woo!
Where are you? I see you.
Nah.
Well, obviously without interpolation or prediction of any kind of jittery, but it works.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. I'm gonna bump your head.
All right, let's do it. Bam. So let's fix it so that we bump fists instead of heads.
Good call.
Uh,
All right, I'm gonna stop. Oh, you're gonna stop me. Yeah, time to oh god. I got get thread contacts failed. That's okay.
thread.
Alright, cool. But yeah, that's working. That's awesome.
That's great.
And someone needs to remind me, oh god. Someone needs to remind me that we also want to be able to switch scenes. Which I don't think should be that bad, but
Really,
I know someone wanted to see that, so I want to.
one of the interesting things about the high-level API is that, yeah, it does have support for that.
But
It's an interesting problem.
I know
Okay,
with
so you
Photon
don't
it wouldn't
have
be that bad, but with I mean I haven't done UNET before, so I'm like,
I think you just load scenes and it handles it automatically for everything that you've
oh, that would be so
specifically
nice.
done with. So what we're gonna have to do for the hands is a little bit more involved. We'll have to hook into when we're actually connected.
Yeah.
And then we'll say spawn 2 hands for this client.
Nice.
And then on the client, it needs to say, okay, I'm a client.
Yeah.
Have I assigned a left hand? If so, then leave it, and assign a right hand to one of them.
Yeah. I think if we do that, I think that'd be pretty solid, and then we can try switching scenes. If it works, it works.
Yeah, let's figure it out.
Yeah,
Let's go.
let's go.
Let's do it. Life is an adventure.
We're on that adventure right now, and people are learning, and it's awesome.
Exactly. So, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to creating a network behavior, like we did here. This ill-named network discovery. Let's go ahead and fix that. Normally, resharper control RR, but I didn't. Oh, yeah. Dude. Oh, I should have done this at the beginning. Oh. Now I can just rename the file, rename the class, and it renames the file as well as the class and everywhere it's used. So what do we want to call this? This is you know what? Instead of creating specialized classes, let's have command and control around that and say this manages a specific VR node. By default, we're going to make it the head. And in the player cube, let's make sure to set this to, actually let's set it to left. Left hand. So this is now serialized as the head. We add a network identity. Say it's local player authority, so the player owning it can change it. And then we say network transform. I think you can do network transform child, but that gets really wonky very fast. And let's make this smaller than the head. Let's make it 0.1. As big as the head. And create a resources folder so that we can load this at runtime. I don't know. Maybe we make this just a field here because that gets kind of brittle. Yeah, let's create a network behavior that, a hand spawner. Hand spawner. Anything interesting going? Any questions?
Pop back into the chat. Oh God.
Uh-oh.
Well, it just loaded up all the chats that I missed, and I think it erased.
About something completely unrelated, which happens a lot.
Yeah, no, that's a good thing. I love it. But yeah, no, I lost where I was. I don't even know if it saved my last message. Okay, no, good.
It's like, we're looking for on authority start, whatever. But to be fair, actually, even the new UNET, the Photon peer-to-peer stuff uses UNET because serialization.
I didn't even realize that. That's interesting.
Yeah,
Just the low-level API?
I think it uses a high-level API.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, well, at least when we did it, I didn't have to use the network manager.
Right. Because it's only the peer-to-peer stuff. So their base offering is still the same as it's always been.
Uh-huh.
But they released a new product recently that has peer-to-peer
Oh, I didn't know
functionality.
that. That's interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of value add for anybody who's done networking for a long time.
Nice.
So there's a lot of little tricks and hints that they
That's
can,
awesome.
there's a lot of room for improvement. So we're looking for on start authority, I believe is the callback we're looking for. Yep. Has authority. If we have authority, then start the coroutine to, this is implicit with these. How do we want to find out if we have a left hand? This is tricky with a high-level API. If you do funny things like...
Are you using camera rig? I think this.
Oh, no, we're not going to attach directly to the camera rig. Because what happens is you want to... In order to switch scenes, one of the things you need to do is you need to say network server.spawn. So this isn't even spawning, this is actually the hand script. But let's start with the hand script first, just mentally. And what's going to happen is it's going to find the node for the hand.
Yeah.
And it's going, for each client, when you get local player authority, you're going to say, do I already have a left hand? If I do, that's not me.
Yeah.
I'm going to create a right hand. I'm going to say that my hand is right.
Sure. Okay.
And in theory, we could do that through RPCs or something, but...
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
RPCs might be easier. That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Because that's guaranteed.
Right.
Quote unquote guaranteed. But yeah.
That's probably a better way of doing things.
Brainstorming.
No, it's easy to go down a path, and yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So one of the interesting things about the high-level API is that it has attributes. These things in brackets, they indicate what sort of call this is. So this is going to be from the server to the client. So it's going to be something called a client RPC. And it also needs to start with RPC. The function needs to start, the function name needs to start with RPC. And this does automatic serialization, which is pretty cool in my book, because serialization is a place where in networking oftentimes you shoot yourself in the foot, and you add one more feature and something gets slightly out of wonk. I'm going to use that again. I like that. So this way we don't have to care if we have authority or not. The server is just going to tell us at some point this hand is your left one and this one's your right one. the RPC set hand, what it's going to do is it's going to start the coroutine the track node coroutine, which just every frame will set the local position rotation of specific VR node. And this is going to pass it right through. So in the code where we spawn, let's go ahead and rename this. This is the hand reaction. Control RR isn't working anymore.
Quick question for
Yep.
Chase.
Chase, how you doing, man?
He said, does has authority do the same thing as is local player?
Is local player and has authority, they might be different. So if you're the local player, that's a great question.
Google.
Well, it is up here. It's not coming up off the top of my head. If it's the authoritative version of it, if you're the local player, then that's just for player objects, and that's useful for spawning objects off of players. But if you're the server, so maybe that's an interesting way to start to approach this, is just for every network behavior script. If you don't have authority, if you're the server,
yeah,
and you're not the local player, or actually even if regardless, if you're the server, send this RPC command, do a network spawn for this for 2 hands, and then set the hand position.
Yeah. Good question.
Yeah, no. I mean, there are many ways of accomplishing the same task, and in this context, that's a pretty pragmatic way of doing things. Our VR node is where we this does have potential errors, so let's do this. Void on start authority.
Yeah.
On start authority. So if we're the authority, then what we want to do is track for the head. And we want to do this. We're adding on logic here that will say track the head, and then we want to spawn 2 network objects if we're the server. So if network server dot active, which means we're the server, and we want to unconditionally say network spawn. Ooh, you can spawn multiple. Oh, that's for doing stuff in a scene. Spawn with client authority. Yeah, we want to spawn with client authority. That'll allow the client to determine where the position is. We want to spawn, we'll have to add a reference here. Actually, let's make sure it's a network identity type or a hand position setter. So we want to instantiate a version of this. Game object, game object. Player or the connection. We need to find the connection, and it's in here somewhere. It's net ID. Why that's not working? This is a game object. Oh, I wanted strongly typed, and that was just a little ambitious. And cool. And connection to client is automatically set. So we get a left hand, and then we set a right hand. We get a right. We spawn a right hand, and then we let them know that they're left. Did I misspell this? I did. Cool. So now what we're doing is we're setting the left hand. Oh, this just returns a bool. That's no good. How do we get a reference back to what we just spawned?
Huh. That seems like there's got to be a different method, right? Because that seems like really weird. That.
Yeah, it's oh, you instantiate it yourself and you pass in the reference. Oh, that's kind of weird. It's fine.
Yeah. Oh, were you passing a prefab before?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
This must run on the server. Network server.active. Oh, so you need to include the prefab. So this prefab we're making for the hand, it needs to be included in the in this network manager. So we say that's a spawn prefab. We get that for free, but our registered spawnable objects must also include this hand.
Yep.
And it doesn't have to be in resources. Right. That's
I
great.
think it does, yeah.
Because you're selecting it using this. That'll come in handy. Handy.
Oh my god. I just got it. I'm like, no.
No.
Well, we'll end it there.
Oh,
That's the end of the stream, folks.
So we can now spawn a hand. We exposed a function to be able to set from the server to the client the hand itself.
You just gotta instantiate it.
Mm-hmm. We don't really care about the position. Oh my god, you use spaces. I think there's going to be a war.
A spaces war? Sounds pretty epic, actually.
Dude, you saw Silicon Valley? Like
I haven't
spaces
actually.
and spaces and tabs, man.
Oh man,
Telling you, it's like
it's the way of the
Emacs
future.
versus VI. It's really just one of those things.
VI versus Vim.
Oh well, I think that's pretty clear. Vim's awesome. So here we spawn it. Let's not do any checking. Normally, we'd make sure that it actually spawned. But after we
I believe you.
after we spawn it, spawn the left instance and the right instance, and then let's let the clients know that RPC.
You have to
Get
create an
component.
RPC. Oh, well, that's true.
APIs.
They're there for a reason. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, I get it. I get it. That's the way I wanted it to work, so it should work that way.
Well, that's the beauty of networking, right? You have the ability to implement it however you want,
Yeah,
to some extent.
yeah. I mean, there's worse and better, but there are many ways of approaching problems to come up with correct solutions.
Right hand.
Right. Correct. So I think that should work. We might have to wait until it's actually active. So we might have to like spin. If we have to
Sure.
do that, now that I'm thinking about it,
Oh, because it. Wait. Well, you're instantiating, right? So you can get component.
in theory, this should all work.
Well, we'll find out in practice right now.
I'm gonna be paranoid and make this a coroutine.
Give it a. Nice.
Let's find the network identity. Oh, you know what? Let's just wait a second.
Yeah. Let's preface this now by in like best practice scenarios you wouldn't do this, but because this is a stream, we're hacking.
Yeah, normally you specifically say, you know, if we know that you can accept commands right now. And there's many ways of doing that. In Unity, the versions of UNET that I'm most familiar with, that was a functionality that was a little bit buggier. So you had to sort of dead reckon a little bit. This will work to some extent. So we're gonna
Give it a shot.
we're gonna wait a second, set the hand. We're gonna create new hand position setters. We're gonna let it know that we're gonna spawn it on the network, and that'll allow you to move between scenes.
Yep.
And then using Unity's infrastructure, and then
RPC them over to clients
to make sure that they know that they have a left and right hand.
Nice.
So that's in theory what
So let's
be happening.
hit play, make sure it works single player, and then join you. I'll copy the code over, and we'll make sure it works in multiplayer. And I think if this works, we'll debug it if necessary. But I think that's like the core of the stream.
Mm-hmm.
Is it working?
Hold on. So you just start as host because you don't need to connect to anybody. I should be able to automatically grab
Let's connect a
so I started
controller
a
for
host
you.
and I'm not seeing any hands. I see one hand.
Oh, that's
Just-
because there are no hands. Do you have a controller somewhere?
Well, it shouldn't matter. It still should spawn 2 hand prefabs. Oh, because it's not set.
Ah.
The reference is not set. Should have null pointered. It did not.
Fascinating. Maybe you don't have the script in there?
So it doesn't get to the point where...
Oh, or unless you instantiate null and then it creates like an empty game object. That could happen.
This only happens on people who get authority. Alright, this is where this gets interesting.
I'm gonna make it work, I believe.
So on start server.
Okay. Yeah.
So regardless, the server is going to be doing this. So we don't have to check if network server.active because this should only happen on the server.
Give a shot.
Yeah.
To play.
Well,
Oh, it's gotta
just thinking.
think. There's a lot of heat actually back here. Aw, yeah.
So no
I
hands.
see that. Is it on? What's in don't destroy on load?
Maybe we need to call something below here.
Oh.
Yeah, that's ReSharper letting me know that I was overriding something without.
Oh,
Just
this
for the
thing over
thing.
here?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so fancy.
I know, right?
That host. Hey! Hold on.
No reference.
That's a good thing. That's because there are no controllers.
Well, the hand position setter. Well, it doesn't matter because it's using the VR nodes. So the hand position setter is not on the hands because it's not on the hands. Great. Happy weekend.
Good debugging session right here.
Yeah, yeah. IR smart.
This has nothing to do with being smart or not.
No, we all blame ourselves. It's being human is a very interesting process. Cool.
Nice.
So we have hands. We have no bugs. Well, we have no errors. We see a hand. It's
Nice.
on a cube. Cool.
All right.
Boom,
Time
boom,
to
boom, boom.
time to rave.
Well, I mean, come on. All right.
Yeah. All right. Let's see if we can get a fist bump going on. I believe.
Just imagining
Sit that
Game of
over.
Thrones. You know, you'd have the Starks raving mad.
I want the desk. No. Yes. Yes. No. Maybe. All right. This all happened here. Let's zip that thing up. And if this works, I think that's pretty awesome. It was rough at times, but still we got there. That's the important part. We got there. It's
Life's a journey. And
multiplayer. Multiplayer is hard. Like that's something you should all keep in mind. Multiplayer is very hard. It's a non-trivial task. It's worth it. It's always worth it, but it takes some effort to get time. This is one of the things why we do it on a stream is, one, we get to interact with you guys, which is always fun. And then two, it takes some hours to get set up properly.
Well, and the cool thing is you get to see some of the ways that you can go right or wrong instead of just the way you can go right. Because more often than not, at least for me, I look at these things and I see somebody, practice, see something super practiced, and then I'm like, oh, but what if I want to do that or the other thing, and quickly breaks down. So understanding how to find answers is just as important as an answer.
Yeah, go ahead and open up Unity. I'm extracting this right now, and
I'll set up a server.
do it. Do it with matchmaking. So that we can raid and fist pound.
It's exactly the same as the wave.
Yeah. Minus nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. I have no idea. I'm like yelling, but I have no idea if you guys can hear me or not.
All right, so I'm gonna create a
Google Matchmaker. Find internet match.
create internet match.
Oh wait, that's refresh. Find again. Okay. I see 2 cubes. Actually, I see a lot of cubes. They're all the same size.
You're way down there for some reason.
No, I see. My hands.
Okay, so I see hands. Let's see if the left and the right are getting set. It might
So
be
I don't
both
see
being.
my hand, but I see your. I see someone's hand. I see your head. I know your head is working. My controllers are not working. It's just a struggle of having two Vives right next to each other, which is rough. Next time, we'll keep it in mind that we probably need a rift down here in this corner. So that's unfortunate, but let's see. I want to do it this time. So let me go ahead. Oh, wait, what in the world? Alright. Controller, work. Can you please? Or do I need a USB here? Well, I mean, I definitely. So we know it works. That's the thing. And if things were tracking properly, this is a hardware issue, not a software issue. Just sucks. You get this far and then you can't test it with VR. It's just rough. Well, we'll take a look at it after the stream and see if there are ways to resolve this. But it's really rough.
Just make sure in the meantime that our hand is getting set. So that's left
Yeah.
and that's right. So we do in fact set those.
Code-wise, we know this works. That's the important part. We know this works. Actually, can you hit play again? I just want to. We don't have to do this right now, and then open up Don't Destroy Unload.
Mhm.
So okay, so that's cool.
The scenes.
Yeah, for scenes, clearly you know that the network
let's
manager is there.
create
You
a new
just,
scene.
Yeah, if you create a new scene and then just say, if you just use the SteamVR load scene and make sure those ones are Don't Destroy Unload, it should work. Obviously, you'd have to sync that you changed with an RPC, so I don't want to go. That's why I don't want to go into this like.
Oh, I think it automatically handles that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It switched. Really?
Mhm.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Well, it has access to Unity. At
True.
Unity, they have full.
Are you sure? I don't know. That sounds crazy.
I don't know. So let's create a test scene too.
Yeah, I just want to have this in here because
Mhm.
it seemed like an easy-ish thing to do. Question marks. Like, if this works, it's an easy-ish thing to do. If not, it's not an easy-ish thing to do.
That's most things in networking. It's either really easy or it's another category.
But the player won't move, right?
It should.
Everything would move?
Yep. So
impressive.
what happens is that it registers with something called client scene, and this is where some of the authority issues actually, if you want to do things very quickly on Connect, it can get a little tricky. But what it does give you is that it registers with something called client scene, and then when you either migrate hosts, like I go down and you take over as host, which is a different API call, it'll automatically move those objects.
Interesting.
And
so
also when you change scenes.
Okay, that's interesting.
You might have to set on destroy unload, but let's find out. Let's show another feature that let's not do anything fancy. So let's do something fancy. That made sense.
Yeah, ish.
So let's try changing scenes.
Okay, you could do it probably. Oh, smart.
Yeah, context menus are your friend.
Yeah, they really are. And for those that don't know, this basically puts a button in the inspector for you to just have fun.
Load scene. Let's just do 2. I'm not going to do it the Steam VR way for now, just to.
Yeah. No, so normally check out our other video on the load level. It's not terrible like to use it, but that's the right way to do it for the Vive. We're just doing it fast for now.
We're doing it a way because we're trying to prove the concept. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Code clarity. If you want to ask me, I do things very.
Where'd the camera go?
Oh, I disabled everything.
Oh.
I ruined it all.
Alright, cool. So now you should have a context menu when you. Where's that script live? Is it on that guy?
Yeah. So it's this mirror. So it's on the player cube.
It is.
Let's change scene. No? Simple unit tests.
What is 1 and 2? That's the real question.
Oh, it's index based.
Yeah.
I can math. You know what they say is that there's only two hard things in programming: naming things. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. All right, let's make sure this works, and then I think that's pretty much the end of the stream. So create a server. Go to player cube. Use that fancy dancy context menu. All right, so what's synced? That's the real question. So okay, so the key thing you would have to do is don't destroy unload.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can add that to all those scripts. I don't think it's worth doing it right now, but like, that's how you would do it.
Well, we can try this out right now.
If you're game for it. Or just add it to start.
Oh, shh.
Hacks.
Well, we want to do it right before we load for now.
Oh yeah, that works. Yeah, just or you can just say don't destroy and load this game object.
We want to do it with all of them?
Oh, good call. Do it in a loop. Nice. This is actually super efficient. I like it. Don't destroy and load game object. You kind of wish that they would have it as a method though, instead of on game object, as opposed to like having to call it like this.
Have you ever done extension methods?
Good call.
You definitely can't. So,
yeah.
and there's always this fine line between things you can do.
Yeah.
But when you find that impulse, it's good to hang on to it, because the most important thing you can do as a developer is say, I'm not going to deal with this problem.
Yeah.
And I'm going to find a better way. Those
true.
impulses are very, very helpful.
All right. Moment of truth. Does everything get don't destroy it unloaded? And if so, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
So we're at LAN hosts.
Yep. All right, context menu.
I'm going to bug you. It's a little bit easier. Boom!
Oh, you can click it.
So it looks like it's all here on the server.
So it sends most of the things. The only thing it doesn't do is the player, which
Oh, no, I thought it did the player.
no, it was missing the camera, because that one doesn't have a network behavior.
Oh.
But I would say don't worry about with that for now. It gets the concept across. I kind of want to keep this to like 2 hours ish.
Yep.
So the concept's there. That's kind of premise. Basically, whatever you want to send to another scene, put it on don't destroy unload. And that for loop was actually a really cool way of doing it. So yeah, that's awesome. This pound
Sweet.
in real life.
Let's do it.
We can't do it virtually because Lighthouse, so that kind of sucks. But still, I think the concepts are there. I think it's a great learning resource for sure if you're trying to use UNET. Obviously, if you're using Photon, we have other videos on that, so that's a cool resource. Hassan, you want to get here as we end out?
Sorry.
He's like in the chat with you guys. He's like deep into it. I have no idea. I've been like in both worlds, like half and half. I try to make everything.
There's just so much going on. AR, networking.
I know, right? AI,
AR?
networking, AI.
Yeah, we were talking about AR in the chat a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Which version of AR?
Well, we just like people brought up that they want to see more AR
Yeah.
tutorials.
Speaking
Some
of
people
which.
were asking about. It got started because someone's trying to do just a simple pass through with the Vive camera, but they're struggling because the quality is not so high. So they're trying to think about if they could include a different camera and then pipe the video through fast enough and get high quality. What do you think about that? Your face says it all.
I think that's a very interesting approach. I think the way that you'll have a higher assurance of not making people sick is to do a pre-scan of the room using a 3D depth mapping camera like the Occipital, RealSense, PrimeSense, any of those things that can create a mesh from your environment.
Yeah.
And then just bake that in, because yeah, it's a pain. But for a lot of use cases, that's actually pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Also, Dario had a talk on doing this without doing VR without green screens, which probably that
Yeah.
technique could work.
All right. Well, there you have it, David. Tune in, check out all that stuff, see if it helps.
So
you.
much stuff. That's
But yeah, It
awesome.
was a very active chat today.
Nice QVR bit in your Vivecraft. Best comment ever. Cool. Yeah, so I mean I just scrolled through the chat really fast. I mean, obviously YouTube doesn't save it, which sucks, but yeah, at least it's in the video. That's the cool part. And yeah, thanks so much for coming on. This was awesome.
Really awesome to have.
Yeah, it was great talking with all y'all, and
Yeah, it was. I mean, there were tons of people that came through, so that was really cool. And that pretty much does it for this video. So probably a few hours after this, I'm gonna kind of trim this stream down a little bit so that kind of have the core parts. And yeah, if you haven't done so already, like the video or subscribe. Helps us out a lot as far as like spreading the word. And
let us know what you want to see. Other
definitely let us
videos.
know what you want to see. Either on our website, comments. We read it all. Sometimes it just takes lots longer than at times. Really depends on how busy we are. And thanks again for coming on, guys.
Yeah.
It was really fun. So with that, it's been Fuse Man.
Hassan.
Alex.
Alex.
We're signing out. See you guys later.